It was a successful arrangement that we had in the old days when, following on from the British time, engineers who graduate from the university, they don't call themselves engineers at that time. At best, they call them pupil engineers, pupillage scheme in JKL at that time. So we'll be able to confirm this. But unfortunately, those good times have been forgotten. Engineering graduates coming from university on graduation call themselves engineers, not knowing that, like the medical profession, like the medical profession, they have the hospital where they are trained after graduation. In engineering, we don't have the hospital, but we have the industry. We have to be trained in industry. Like the medical, they have the housemanship. Each and every one of us may have got children who are doctors and who are being forced to undergo housemanship, on call for 1.5 days and so on. I've got one young daughter who come back from the hospital only to take a short bath and sleep. She doesn't want to eat, she doesn't want to talk to anybody after 1.5 days of on call in the hospital. But the training given by the doctors, despite the problem with the on-call, the timetabling of the times of the doctors, I think engineers must teach the doctors how to do queuing theory, how to develop their timetable. They don't know how to do it. That's why they are torturing our children. But the fact remains that they have to undergo some practical training called housemanship before they can become medical officer. And then they have to do something like 4 years of master level education before they can become specialists, and after a number of years before they can become consultant. But unfortunately, amongst the engineers, on graduation, they behave like food engineers, especially in the car. Whereas to the fraternity, you are not an engineer until you get some professional experience. And at least to the engineering bodies in the country now, you need at least 3 years minimum of practical experience before you can sit for the professional exam, before you can pass the exam and get your professional engineer status. And to a real engineer, that should be the route that you should be following. But as I mentioned just now, out of 200,000 engineers, only less than 6% took that route. The rest didn't bother. And this is an unfortunate situation in our country that has got to change. Because if we want our engineers to be professionally developed, they have to undergo some form of practical training outside. If it is not according to the system that we have adopted from the British, then we have to innovate, invent a new system altogether. Now the same has got to be developed for engineering technologies. Unfortunately, we are producing engineering technologies now. UNIKL in particular is producing engineering technologies, and now there is clear instruction from the Ministry of Higher Education for the 4 college universities, which is now under a new name called MTUN. They are called MTUN now. The nations are very good at creating acronyms. So they're now MTUN. And they have been instructed to reintroduce the engineering technology degree. That, I think, is a good initiative from the Ministry of Higher Education. But having said that, we're going to produce the requisite number of engineering technologies, but what happens to them after that? JPA says there's no place for them in JPA. JPA does not recognize them. They cannot be in the J scale. And then, professionally, the engineering bodies at the moment do not recognize engineering technology qualification. So while the Ministry of Higher Education has done this part, the professional bodies has not done their part. And this is something that we have to seriously look into. On top of that, we have the technician. Alhamdulillah, we have the Jabatan Pengajian Polytechnic in particular in the Ministry of Higher Education producing a lot of technicians. Today, the enrollment in our national polytechnics has reached around 90,000, meaning to say that they are producing something like 30,000 a year of technicians. And this is only the polytechnics. There are other technical colleges under MARA and under Kementerian Belia and so forth, producing a certain number of technicians. Now, what happened to this technician? Frankly, nobody knows. They just disappear into the market. There's no effort to professionally develop them. And no wonder nobody wants to be a technician. It is really, that means sure, the career. So, and the majority of them would want to study further to become engineers because the profession as a technician is not developed in our country. Now, this is one area we have to go into. We have to seriously look at technicians. My guesstimate is we have something between 500,000 to 1 million technicians out there. That's my guesstimate. But if you look at the production from the polytechnics alone, it could have been they have produced 300 to 400,000 technicians already. And they just sort of disappear in the market, no professional training for them. And yet, in my discussion with the president of the Institution of Mechanical Engineers in the UK, in London, he was saying India professional institution in the UK, they really value the technician and they can become ordinary members of their professional institution, so much so that he once said to me, the technician can actually become the president of the Institution of Mechanical Engineers. That is, or that would be unknown of in Malaysia, a technician to become the president of a professional body. But things must change, because I think the world is changing and we have to change. Alhamdulillah, because of this little background that I have given you, there are people in the engineering fraternity who are very concerned about this. And I still remember I was in a taxi with the then President of the Board of Engineers and Director General of Engineer Zone, the Ketua Pengarah of JKR. We were in the taxi and we were talking about all this. And more or less we agreed that there must be a society to look into this issue. And Alhamdulillah, MySET, the small MySET, was born. Because we feel that there must be a body that seriously look into all this and seriously look into the possibility of integrating the engineering team of engineers, engineering technologies, and technicians, and if possible, turning it into a multidisciplinary organization that comprises of architect engineers, because we are living in a highly multidisciplinary world nowadays. So, Malaysian Society for Engineering and Technology was born. And Alhamdulillah, with the strong support from members, we have grown in numbers, and as well as the number of activities that we have. In fact, just to share with you, and I mentioned this to Yang Berhormat Timah Menteri just now, that we now have a series of activities within our society. For example, we are going to Kazakhstan next month, and next month we are going to Kuching, Sarawak for our regional symposium for engineering and technology. There's a banner here, and partly we would like to publicize that. And we're going to have an international engineering education conference in Medina in December, where some of you can perform Umrah if you want to. We are having a series of activity, and we have recently received a grant, 500,000 grant from MIDA to develop our portal, and we'll be launching the portal in a short while. And In fact, we are slowly migrating from our normal website to a portal. And we have a number of other activities that we line out, and hopefully this will fulfill our requirements in terms of providing professional development opportunities to engineers, engineering technologies, and technicians for our society. Now, at about the same time, an initiative was taken by staff of UNIKL and other technical colleges to form another society called the Malaysian Society for Engineering Technologies. So this society is dedicated to engineering technologies, whereas ours was dedicated to the engineering team. And surprise, surprise, the formation of the two societies and the time that we received the birth certificate was on the same day. On the same day, and we were surprised. We were there together with the director of ROS, and we had tea with him and we had a chat. And then we had this idea, when I was discussing with Dr. Hakim and Prof. Wan Muhammad and so on, why don't we come together and work together as a team? And alhamdulillah, this was presented to the AGM of both societies, and both AGMs agreed and councils agreed, and we formed a merger committee of some sort, and they all have agreed to certain ways of doing it, and the merger was agreed. And today we're going to witness a simple MOU signing between the small MSET and the big MSET to give birth to the MySET, a new society altogether, hopefully, that will be stronger and will be looking into all aspects of engineering for engineers, engineering technologists, and technicians. Alhamdulillah, things are happening, and I really hope that this will lead to something good for our country. And just to mention a bit here, while we are talking about the professional body here, the government is now taking initiative to form a new board called MBOT, Malaysian Board of Technologies, to look into the professional development of technologies and hopefully also technicians. This is a very good initiative and will be announced later formally. And MySET will be very supportive of this MBOT because we feel strongly that Malaysia really needs a board like this, the board which looks after the profession, to regulate the profession of the technologists and technicians, the board that actually be looking into accreditation of the academic qualification for engineering technologists and technicians, and perhaps the board which will look into the problem of registration of this personnel. I can say here on behalf of Dr. Hakim and other members that MySET will strongly support this initiative by the government. In fact, I was told that the government in principle has approved the formation of this board, and hopefully we can see a very dynamic engineering fraternity in our country, and hopefully it will be better than what they have in the UK and will be better than what they have in the US and other countries, instead of us trailing behind.